our regular meeting of June 15th of the Planning Commission to order. Pledge allegiance by Commissioner Padilla. Everybody stand, please.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Commissioner Heedy?
Here.
Commissioner Padilla?
here.
Vice Chair Dunstan?
Present.
Chair Mercado?
Here. We're not going to have a reordering of agenda. No presentations. Approval amendments. Do we have a
I will move to approve the minutes
we have
of
a-
last week.
I'll second them.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, who was the second?
I was.
Joe?
Thank you.
Public comments. We have one. Ben, you have a
General.
general public comment.
Ben, 546 Blue Blossom. In the last month or two, we have heard nothing about parking in the paper. Here, there, for and against. I know there's a commuter parking lot planned in north end of town. Where, when, how, and what can we see something on that? Thank you.
Thank you. Consent calendar, none. Continued public hearings, none. New public hearings. Resolution number 17-08, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton approving a lot line adjustment 17-LLA-01 between Lot 8 and Lot 9 of Tract 31057 located at the southern portion of the Vineyard Village Townhouse property and making findings in support thereof. At this time, Vice Chair, I have to recuse myself due to my 500 feet, and I'll turn over the floor to you.
All right. Thank you. So are we gonna start with you? I guess we have to.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all the other ones.
See there.
Okay, good evening, Vice Chair Dunstan, Commissioners. This item is the public hearing for the Village Townhomes lot line adjustment. So the project description is a lot line adjustment to adjust the lot line between lots 8 and lots 8 and 9 of the recorded tract map 31057 in order to comply with required fire separation distance, which is a building code requirement, and also to ensure that the lot line is not running through one of the buildings. It appears to touch it, so it's just to sort of clean that up and comply with building code regulations. The lot line adjustment would move the existing lot line approximately 17 feet and 1 inch to the west of its current location. And it's important to note there's no change in land use density and no additional lots will be added to the map. So the proposed lots of 7, so basically how it works is there's no additional lots because basically the new lots are just basically relabeled or renumbered as lots 1 and 2 of a lot line adjustment to the tract map. So basically the proposed lots are lots 1 and 2 to replace lots 8 and 9 of tentative tract map 31057. So lot 1 will be now 0.58 acres and lot 2 will be 1.07 acres. So with that movement of the lot line just over 17 feet 1 inch, that there's just a slight change in what each of the parcels actually have, or each of the lots have on them. So and this is just to show you kind of where we're talking about. So this is the Village Townhomes site here, and on the here's lot 8 and lot 9. Below us is the commercial center, park, senior housing projects. So the lot line we're talking about here is just this one here, which will be moved over to approximately somewhere over here. And the next slide will show you exactly where that movement will be. So this is the lot line adjustment map, and you can see the existing lot line here, and where in relation to the buildings, and you can kind of see it looks like it's touching there. And so they'll move the lot line from here over to the west 17 feet 1 inch. So as part of the resolution, there are some conditions of approval, and basically before the occupancy can be given for the buildings that are affected by this lot line, the applicant would need to submit all the necessary documentation for recording, and it would need to be complete and recorded prior to building occupancy. However, they can obtain building permits and start building those buildings in that phase, just occupancy could not be granted until it was final and recorded. This application is being processed as a Class 5 categorical exemption because it only involves a minor lot line adjustment with no new lots resulting, or no additional lots resulting. And the recommendation is that the Planning Commission consider the adoption of Resolution 1708 as written. I'm available for questions.
Dan, you have any questions?
No, seems pretty straightforward.
Joe?
Nothing, thank you.
I just was curious to know, this was one of the things that was approved not that long ago, correct? Part of
I
that
think it was
larger.
2013 or 14, I'm not sure which, but.
When they had that, did this not come up? I mean, had the buildings on the planning, right? Or was there no buildings actually on the?
I'm not sure it would have been part of
There's a representative here to find out what they did as far as why it was not there, but the buildings and the lot lines were there, and I think during their construction there was an issue and the building was in a little different location.
Okay, I'd like to hear about that, so I guess,
So when you open the public hearing, the applicant can come up and explain that.
perfect. So I don't have any other questions for Andrea. So I guess we can open it for public hearing.
Okay,
Come on up.
all right. Okay, Commissioners, my name is Michael O'Flynn. I'm an agent for Capital Pacific Development Group, the company building out the townhomes there at Vineyard Village. And Commissioner Dunstan, what happened was during plan check, so the building design was superimposed over the lot lines when we first designed the buildings. What was missed was that it's actually an entry structure that kind of comes off the main building. So it was sort of, I wouldn't say added, but it wasn't looked as part of the main architecture at the time. So it just kind of popped out a little bit. The plan checkers at the county noticed this. So there was, that came up during a very, technical review of the plans. There was a lot of the fire separation issue is related to that. We can't have a structure with any openings that close, even though that nothing would be ever built there. So we worked with county staff here. Everyone was very, very good. Our consultants figured out a solution, and this was the best way of fixing this particular one. There was a couple other instances where there were problems, but we worked through all those with county staff and our architects. So.
Okay. Yeah, it's just surprising that it wasn't caught earlier, especially with the fire evaluation, and that we have that with any one of those plans. And I guess the detailed technical review you're talking about didn't occur until after it came to the commission.
I'll just tell you, there was a mistake made by our architect that he did not realize there was multiple lot lines. So a lot of condominium projects are built with a single common lot. Ours, as designed, has multiple condo lots, but those lot lines are fairly, I wouldn't say useless, but there's not a whole lot of reason for them because everyone owns the entire, all the lots in common with one another.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's another question.
So, yeah, trust me, we didn't want to have to do this either, so.
No, I'm sure the last thing you want to do is have to come back in front of us. Dan, do you have any questions for the developing group? No.
Thank you.
Joe?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Do we have any speakers?
I don't think there's any slips.
I wanted to comment on what's going on here.
Okay, did you fill out a slip already?
No, I didn't. I didn't know that this was going to come up.
That's okay. Come on up and we'll have you do a slip
Can you get the
afterwards.
map back up there? There's two parcels. I think I heard it said that one parcel is 1 point something acres and the other is 2 something. Is that correct?
1.7.
1.07 and 0.58.
0.58. And this is the same owners on both parcels? And do they both have assessor's parcels on?
They do. They have separate assessor's parcels numbers.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. I've got a situation that similar to this, and I got some complaints.
Okay. Okay, any other public comments? No? Okay, we'll close the public comments. Any final remarks from commissioners? Okay. Well, I don't foresee any issues with this, so I would say let's move to adopting Resolution 1708. And all the, do I need to go through the,
No, you're fine, just saying making findings in support thereof.
and the findings in support thereof?
I second that.
Vice Chair Dunstan,
Yes.
Commissioner Padilla,
Yes.
Commissioner Heady,
Yes.
Chair Mercado is not here.
Okay. Thanks, Mark. Hope you didn't get too comfortable.
I may get comfortable.
There you go. Yep. So we're on the next item. Second.
Stan's turn, I think.
Yep.
That's right.
Go to resolution number 1707, a resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Buellton approving a development plan modification to two previously approved final development plans, add conditions related to the amplified music at the Flying Flag RV Resort located at 180 Avenue of Flags, and making findings in support thereof.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself from having property within 500 feet of the resort.
Great, thank you.
Send smoke signal.
Andrea?
All right, so this is the public hearing for the Flying Flags RV Resort's amplified music for a minor use permit. So this vicinity map shows both parcels that belong to Flying Flags RV Resort, so it is two parcels. And in the smaller little stars there show the two areas where music has been historically played outdoors at Flying Flags and what has been recently played as a result of the Phase 2 improvements that have been done there. So just keeping those in mind. I'll have another slide that kind of shows where those locations are later on, but the one to the north is right at the entrance to Flying Flags, and that's near the pool area, outdoor patio area that has historically had outdoor music. And then also to the south there by the RVs, closer to the freeway, is where the new stage area is for phase 2 of development. So this is a development plan modification to add conditions to the project approvals. There's for 95 FDP06 and 16 FDP04, the two project approvals for the resort. So the property is zoned CR and is on two assessors parcels. This development plan modification was staff initiated. It wasn't actually, the property owner didn't actually apply for this. Staff it had been brought to the attention of staff that there had been some issues with the music being played on the weekends with neighboring residences. So that's why we felt it was necessary to bring it back to the commission and discuss the possibility of adding conditions to the project's approvals related to amplified music. So again, previous approvals really didn't mention specifically amplified music. I don't think, back then it was really, something that was looked, forward to that. So, and also the intent of the use of the main stage area that was, that's newer, that's part of the Phase 2 of development, wasn't really made clear in any of the project approvals or at the meeting for Phase 3. For the approval of Phase 3, so that's sort of another reason to bring it back and discuss it now. And again, impacts have been experienced by residents in the nearby Rancho de Maria neighborhood, and so again, we're bringing it back for discussion to possibly look at adding conditions related to amplified music. So again, this is a different orientation, but at the top there's the Avenue of Flags, then the bottom of the page would be the 101. So you can hardly see them, but the red circles show the general area where outdoor music is played on the patio and has been in the past, and then the circle more toward the bottom is where the new stage area is located, and these are the plans for Phase 3 that you've seen before. So next to the sports field and all that, those improvements that are as part of Phase 3. So there was also a petition received, which is included as one of the attachments in your packet, from residents in Rancho de Maria, and they specifically requested, they wanted to see some limitations set on Flying Flags RV Resort related to amplified music. And to summarize, basically they wanted to, 1, limit the number of events that are permitted, and 2, require that notification is given at least 1 week prior to Rancho de Maria residents of any event that would be involving amplified music. So I just put this together to kind of give examples of what types of conditions could be added or not added, just to kind of get people thinking and start the discussion. But this isn't an all-inclusive list by any means, so just to kind of get the discussion going. But some potential options would be to add no conditions, eliminate amplified music in the park altogether, limit the locations at the park for amplified music, limit the hours, days, times amplified music may be played. It require monitoring for the events that are playing amplified music, add some sort of a sound barrier, and also similar to what we've done with other conditional use, minor use permits, is monitor in 1 year with the commission to see how whatever conditions we do or don't add have worked or not worked since being added. So the recommendation is that the Planning Commission, 1, determine the appropriate condition related to amplified music, and then 2, consider the adoption of resolution number 1707 as written. And I'm available for questions and discussion.
Great.
That was pretty clear.
Joe? You said this was not complaint driven?
It wasn't, the property owner did not submit, it was staff initiated.
Yeah,
So
It was
yeah.
complaint driven, yes,
Okay,
to the city, at the city council level.
okay. Thank you. Then we'll open it up for discussion, and we'll start with Therese. I won't even attempt.
Kokorowski.
There you go. I was close.
It's pretty easy. So just for clarification, I had come before the Planning Commission last September and spoken to this issue, and then I went to the City Council and spoke, and I was happy to see that it was put on your agenda so we could revisit this.
Please use your microphone.
Pardon me?
Bring-
Please use your microphone.
Okay, I will, thank you. So my name is Therese Kokorowski. I live in the Rancho de Maria section of Buellton at 100 Six Flags Circle. And thank you for hearing my petition regarding the music at Flying Flags. My concern is that unregulated amplified music events at Flying Flags RV Resort will continue or even increase and will disrupt the peace and quiet our neighborhood generally enjoys. Last summer, there were events on Fridays, Saturdays, and holidays, seemed like almost every weekend. It is my understanding that the Buellton Municipal Code has a public nuisance clause which states, quote, "The use of amplified and musical instruments in such a manner as to disrupt the peace, quiet, and comfort of any reasonable person of normal sensitivity in any residential or public area is prohibited," end quote. As evidenced by the numerous signatures on the petition I submitted to the Buellton City Council, the issue of amplified music is having a widespread impact on the residents of Rancho de Maria. Not everyone is bothered by it. Not every single household hears it, but of my block and into the next block over, a majority of people, well over a majority of people, felt that there should be something done. We can hear the music in our homes in Rancho de Maria even with windows closed. One of my neighbors told me that even though he doesn't hear well, he can feel the music. While the sound level itself can be excessive at times, this combined with amplified bass instruments and drums, plus the intermittent cheers of the crowd, combine to create a real nuisance. These sounds are even louder during summer months when we have windows and doors open in the evenings. We don't happen to have air conditioning, so we do keep our house open in the evening to get cooler air. When I spoke before this Planning Commission on September 15th, 2016, Flying Flags Resort Manager Dan Bauman assured us all that there would only be acoustic music Fridays and Saturdays from 6 to 9 p.m. Yet 8 days later, on September 23rd, Flying Flags had amplified music that lasted until 10 p.m. Mr. Bauman also told me that as part of Phase 2 development, the music venue would be located further from the neighboring residents. While the venue has been moved, the distance from my house to the new venue is the same as it was with the original venue. And I can show you on this map. We live here. Here was the original venue, and here's the new venue. So distance-wise, it's not that different. It's about the same. As you can clearly see in the photo, the net effect of moving the venue is that some of my neighbors are slightly further from the music, while others are actually closer. Furthermore, the music is still amplified rather than acoustic, and the volume of the amplification at the new venue has increased. I have pictures of smaller speakers used on September 23rd at the old venue, and much larger speakers used on April 29th at the new venue. So I don't know if you received copies of those. I'm happy to give those to you. It shows the difference, the smaller one, and then there were 2 sets of large ones like that. Already this year there have been 3 events that I'm aware of, and perhaps even more that I missed because of travel. And we are just entering the busy summer season. If unregulated, weekly events will easily become the norm, and the quiet and peaceful character of our neighborhood will be gone. I have concerns that property values in the neighborhood will be reduced. Not many people will be attracted to an area that has frequent loud music. As you are aware, I have spoken to several of my neighbors, and we have submitted a petition to the City Council. We have requested that the number of amplified music events at Flying Flags be limited in the same way that other Buellton venues have been limited, and that a conscious effort be made to reduce the volume of the bass, instruments, and drums. Figueroa Mountain and Riverview Park are limited to only a few live outdoor music events each year. We also request that advance notice be given to Rancho de Maria residents at least 1 week before each event. We do not believe that our request places any financial burden on Flying Flags. There are many other venues for music and entertainment in the local area that the visitors to Flying Flags can avail themselves of. Flying Flags Resort will continue to be a thriving business with or without amplified outdoor entertainment. When we moved to this community in 2007, we were attracted to and enjoyed the quiet, slower-paced lifestyle here in Buellton. This is what makes our community so attractive, and we wish to preserve that character for all our residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, we forgot to enter into the record, there is a letter from the Chamber of Commerce as well that you received copies of with potential conditions for amplified music. So just want to put that on the record.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to leave these?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dominic,
Andrea,
please.
go ahead and give them to the commission. So they can look at.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Puglisi. I'm the general manager at Flying Flags Resort. I've been with Flying Flags now for 6 weeks, and this is kind of a surprise. The bottom line is we want to be good neighbors. We understand that this is a sensitive issue, and we respect that not everybody is of the same point of view. Special events, including amplified music, are integral to the business and the identity of Flying Flags. They attract visitors from the local community and from the state and beyond. They're a driving force behind a significant amount of the visitors that we see and contribute to the richness of the culture and the economic activity in the valley. Out of respect for our neighbors and for the community, Flying Flags is ready to implement a host of self-imposed music event restrictions. These include a 9:59 p.m. curfew on all summer music events, an 8:59 p.m. music curfew on all winter events. The smaller venue at the Campfire Cafe, we would limit those music events to 3 pieces maximum of any musical equipment, no drums, and the only amplifier we would use in that place would be a small monitor type amplifier for vocals or a guitar. All the other events would take place at the main stage that's part of the development currently underway. We're also proposing a decibel monitoring and documentation program where we would read the noise levels for each event and document those so that if there were any issues, we could go back and evaluate the level and make some sort of a determination based on relative strength of noise. And we're also more than willing to deliver a music schedule notification via email to anybody who requests it. I want to reiterate that we really want to be good neighbors. We understand that our reputation is critical to our continued success, and it's our intention to maintain excellent relationships in this community. We're prepared to take extraordinary measures to mitigate the impact of our operations as much as possible, and we hope the Planning Commission and the community will find this approach to be both reasonable and satisfactory. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia Rother?
I'm Patricia Rother, and I hate public speaking, so bear with me. But I had to come and speak because I live on Avenue of the Flags. My house is probably 3 doors down from the Therese, and we enjoy the music. It's never too loud, and I've talked to a couple of my neighbors, and the neighbor next door was going to come tonight, but he couldn't, and 2 doors over, just as I was coming here, said he didn't care one way or the other. It didn't bother him. I've lived there for 11 years, and it's never bothered me. And there isn't a lot of other music or entertainment in this town to go to, so we're always welcome to go over there. I can walk right across the street and enjoy it, and I do. And they don't play after 10, so that's it.
Okay, thank you. Jerry Long?
My name is Stan Kokorowski. I am reading a document that Jerry Long wrote, and we will submit to the, he wasn't able to be here today, but
That's
he
fine.
wanted
Thank
his voice heard. So I will read his prepared statement. Dear Planning Commission members, myself and my wife, Melody, live at 89 Six Flags Circle in the Rancho de Maria development. Our property is located approximately 250 feet west of the entrance to Flying Flags RV Resort. The front of our house faces the entrance to the Flying Flags RV Resort. We moved here in late October 2016 and didn't notice any loud music coming from Flying Flags RV Resort until March or April 2017. It was our desire to be able to have our windows open and enjoy nice evenings, which haven't been possible on most Fridays and Saturday nights since March 2017 due to excessive loud amplified music coming from the Flying Flags RV Resort. It is even harder with our windows closed to not be distracted by the loud music. I would like to make a few suggestions to the Buellton Planning Commission regarding loud music coming from the Flying Flags RV Resort. Number one, place the stage so that the sound is facing to the east toward the 101 freeway, not to the west facing the residential development of Rancho de Maria. Two, limit the noise decibel to Buellton's noise restrictions, which may have to be revised. Limit the Flying Flags RV Resort to fewer events per year. For example, 1 per month, not 2 every week. Limit the music to non-amplified. Number 4. It is my hope that you now have the information that you need to make a favorable decision regarding these concerns of ours as citizens of the city of Buellton. If you have any questions, please feel free to call or write at the above address. All my best, Jerry Long.
Thank you.
And he has attached some municipal code documents there as well.
Dan Bowman.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I wanted to start off by apologizing to the Kukarowskis. It's true, in September, I came here after Mrs. Kukarowski mentioned about the amplified music, and I made some commitments about keeping the levels down. And as I think most people know, I've transitioned out of Flying Flags. I no longer manage the property. There's only about 9,966,000 things to transition. And I do a mea culpa. I apologize. I did not pass along to the new general manager all of the details about the music part of it. We were kind of in the winter time and weren't up to the music and weren't in that mode, and so I didn't pass that stuff along. So the activity that happened on April 29th, I believe it was, did go a little bit later than I had committed. It was at the second venue, and at that particular venue, it was supposed to be amplified music at that venue. The stage is oriented towards the freeway, and so that should help, even though it may be a little bit closer to the residences, to certain residences. The music is directed completely in the other direction. So anyway, I do apologize about that. I didn't pass that along, and I promised to be a good neighbor. Along with that, I did last year also notify by email anybody who was interested. And it was actually just them. And I think that worked out pretty well, and I think that Flying Flags is prepared to continue to do that. One of the things I did in those email letters was to include a phone number and a contact person, so that if there was a particular issue on an evening, instead of waiting to try to evaluate it after the fact, you would have an actual point of contact right then to be able to make adjustments. And I think that would go a long way to maybe satisfying any issues that came up during an event. I also wanted to clarify the 2 different venues. So the patio venue is just a small campfire area. The bands are usually just 1 or 2 people. It's an acoustic person, a keyboard, or a guitar, and sometimes a keyboard. The amplifiers, as Nick mentioned, are just tiny little amplifiers, and I'm pretty certain most of the time that music is barely audible across the street. And I actually did. I got an app on my iPhone, went across the street to the wall at the corner there of right by Avenue Flags where the sidewalk is by the wall, and that was a good place, I thought, to monitor the noise levels. And so we were able to make adjustments that went on pretty much through the fall, I think until September, and I don't believe we had any issues with that, except for that one date, the week after I came and spoke, where we were able to make the adjustments and make that work. So my point is Flying Flags very much wants to cooperate, wants to be a good neighbor. I think there's ways that we can mitigate that, and what I'd like to suggest is use those ideas that Nick came up with and come back and reevaluate those ideas, kind of neighbor to neighbor. Maybe have a meeting with the people who do feel like they're being annoyed by the music, and we can take whatever other steps are to work that out between us, rather than trying to legislate something that maybe can be corrected with just some minor adjustments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll close public hearing and bring it back to the dais. Who wants to start? Joe?
It's all the stuff.
Well, excuse me, we actually, no,
One more.
no, this last one doesn't have an agenda. Michael Roberts, is that for item 3 or for
Is that for
something?
this?
Okay, then we'll reopen public hearing.
Hello, sirs. Yeah, there's no speech prepared, but I'm pleased to be here. I've been playing music in the Sanchonez Valley for the last 22 years, so I'd like to feel I'm representing all the musicians and the fabulous talent that we do have here. Music, it creates so many different things: happiness, sadness, moods, love. It goes on and on and on, and it's all positive, and it's absolutely fabulous that the Flying Flags Resort is actually putting music on, and we should all actually be thanking them for taking that extra mile to do it. What's very, very important is that the decibel level is kept appropriate. What is sad, however, is that many, many thousands of people enjoy music, and 1 out of many thousands don't. They think it's toxic. And with that, that's the person who we listen to. What we should really be doing is listening to the thousands of people and not listening to the person who thinks it's toxic.
Thank you. We'll close public hearing and bring it back. So,
So taking some notes here, it sounds like we have 2 stages that, what I remember back in September, and Dan, maybe you can correct me on this, I thought that the smaller stage was to have no amplified music on it. I thought that was the commitment, was the one around the pool. Was that correct?
That is correct.
And so in my mind, that should have been straight up acoustic music, should have been played there. And anything you plug into is an amplifier, whether it's a small little one or it's a big one. And so I think there could have been a misunderstanding as to what was proposed and what would our expectation would have been. And so as my expectation was that there was no amplifier allowed in the pool area, that the amplified music was supposed to be at the new venue. So that's just one point of clarification, because I'm not sure if I remember that right, but I'm pretty sure I do. Concerned about the decibel level, that's a concern. I didn't quite understand why 9:59 and 8:59 was important, but 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock seem all that. It's part of your business model, I think, at Flying Flags to have the music, right? That's part of the attraction there, right? And I think that's appropriate for that type of environment. Again, within a certain bandwidth, I think. I'd like to see, appropriate hours and maybe a limitation on the days. I'm not sure what that means at this moment, but just so we can discuss that. Definitely the decibel levels. I would be very sensitive to that if there is something about it carrying. I don't know enough about music levels and all that to know that the sound level makes it, how it works. I mean, how we measure that more.
Well, the requirement for Flying Flags is 65 decibels at their property line.
Okay.
But drums and bass kind of...
They carry.
They carry, so they may not exceed the decibels, but you still can get the
vibration.
Yeah, the vibrations. Thank you of that. So that there's 2 different issues, and the nuisance issue that was brought up, that's kind of the crux. It's not decibel levels, it's nuisance.
Okay.
Is the drums and bass being a nuisance at a certain time of night?
At a certain time of night. So,
yes.
For example, I know that Buellton hosts a couple of festivals over there and stuff during the day. Is that also part of the complaint? Is it daytime events or the only nighttime events we're talking about here?
I believe they're nighttime events, but I don't want to speak for...
Just nighttime. Daytime, I have no problem. I mean, there are sounds coming from over there.
Sure.
It's not a problem.
So, I mean, am I allowed to talk directly?
Yeah.
I mean, I just-
You can bring the public up to ask
Okay,
the
yeah, I just
questions.
want to ask
That's
questions. I
fine.
want to understand what's going on.
No, that's
here.
fine. You can
Would you
bring
mind
people
coming
up.
back up to the podium, please? Thank you.
Mrs. Cornett, Therese?
Therese. Thanks, Therese. I'm Joe. So, to you and to the community, I know I saw the letter that was signed and all.
Right.
What time are you thinking? What's late? What's early? What's late?
Well, for me, the issue is more the drums and the bass. So we don't watch a lot of television. We don't have cable.
Mm-hmm.
We watch news on the internet, and then we turn the television off and I read.
Uh-huh.
So when I go and I read and the doors and windows are closed and I can hear the bass coming in,
Mm-hmm.
it is annoying to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So if something could be done to mitigate that, that would be very helpful, and I don't think it would be an issue.
Sure.
I think you do have to look at the decibel levels. I did walk over on the April date that I mentioned,
Mhm.
and I had gotten a decibel meter, and the decibels at the venue were 104.
Wow.
At 90, over an hour's period, you can lose hearing.
Sure.
So, you know, it wasn't 104 at my house, but I could still hear it.
Mhm.
So and again, I think you're absolutely correct in saying that you could have a certain decibel level, but you can still hear the drums and the bass guitar and even the cheering. I mean, people are obviously having a good time over there. So in terms of what time to cut it off, I mean, my preference would be that I don't have to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand and talk about being a good neighbor. You know, I can understand that a few events a year I might hear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I'm notified, I can go to a movie or, you know, leave town or whatever.
And this is for, okay, so just getting clarification, that's for later in the evening? I mean, I could see something at 10 o'clock. That's pretty late to have loud music and all that.
That's
I mean,
late for me.
That's
I
late
get
for
up,
me.
I get up at 5:30, so
Sure.
10 o'clock is late for me.
Sure. Okay.
So,
I know from a musician standpoint, you got to have some bass and you got to have the drums and all that
Yeah.
on certain things. So I don't know about taking that out, but I think that if it's too loud, I think that there needs to be, okay.
So they do have a structure over there that I understand is for special events, and I assume that it is well soundproofed, you know, so it won't affect the neighborhood. And the stage has been turned towards the freeway,
Mhm.
because I did walk over there that one night in April. But it was still very loud. So I don't know whether a sound barrier would help. That might be the solution, just to have a sound barrier. I think it would help to talk to somebody who knows about acoustics. I don't,
either.
you know.
Okay. And then how many nights or how many days in the last 12 months do you think there was an issue?
Well, so let me put it this way. We've lived there. We bought the house in 2007. 3 years ago, there were a couple of music events during the summer.
But were those in the evening?
In the evening.
Okay, thank you.
Then the next summer, there were a few more. And my concern is, now already this year, we had one in March, we had one in April, we had one in May that I'm aware of, but we travel quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So my concern is, and this is coming into the summer season, and I can understand that they want to put on more. So my concern is that there are going to be more and more.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Any other?
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Joe.
I'm on a roll for tonight.
Yeah.
If I could, tell me your name again. please.
Dominic?
Dominic. So ask questions here now. So as far as the structure of the events that we're hearing about and all that, is this just a local band, or is it truly an event, or is it just having live music at the venue? Is this part of just a regular routine that goes on?
Well, my understanding is the most recent complaint was the result of actually a going away party for Dan.
I know why there was the complaint, but what I'm asking is in terms of what is the plan? Is music something that happens 5 nights a week, 3 nights a week? What's the plan for
Music
Flying
is
Flags?
something that happens on the weekends.
On Friday and Saturday night?
Correct.
Okay.
We also, the larger, the bigger venue is likely going to get used on a very limited basis. You know, we do have a Friday night music at the patio where we serve our barbecue. That is happening every Friday. The big, you know, festival type fun events are going to be
Typically daytime over there, right?
typically daytime, not always daytime,
Right.
but probably going to be right near a holiday or some other sort of a special event that's bringing, you know, a large number of visitors to the area.
And then tell me about the music at the pool. I'm thinking about, because that's where you're saying that's where Friday and Saturday night occurs for the most part. How practical is it to have non-amplified music at that venue?
I think, I don't think it's very practical. I think at the very least, I think vocals need to be amplified. Yeah, that would be a challenge.
That's what I'm guessing. I'm trying to understand what happens there. And Mark, if I'm just trying to understand, of course. If we said, yeah, you can, I saw the small speakers and then I saw the big speakers there. If there was something that was practical, does the noise ordinance still applies even if it's a non-amplified situation, right?
Yes, that is correct.
So if we said, yes, you can have an amplifier at the pool, but you still have to be within a certain loudness and no drums at that venue, that's something that is possible.
That is correct.
Right? Okay.
I just want to clarify, the larger venue in the back, you're not planning to have events every weekend at that?
Correct.
That's what I heard too.
Okay, so that's maybe a starting point of
That's what I'm thinking the number of events starts, because that sounds like that'd be the place where it gets blown up, the sound.
Right, so the small venue, we can kind of condition.
Right.
And then a large one, maybe they have certain number of events.
You're stealing my thunder. I was going that direction.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify, because that's what I thought I heard, so.
Yes, that's exactly what I want to understand. So my question would be then, could there be a situation in your mind, I'll make that, you could have a certain level of amplified music that stays below the decibel level, that's a regular set of music that could be played at the pool area and not generate neighbor complaints. Do you think that's possible?
I do.
Okay, and then in using the larger venue, how many times a year do you plan on having the full-blown festival and loud concert kind of situation going on?
I don't have a number in my head. It's a new development at the property, and anything I told you
should be a guess. I get it.
It would be a guess.
Okay. All right. Cool. Do you have any questions?
I'm leaning toward a lot what Joe was saying. Because we were under the impression around the pool area, acoustic music. The Sunday we went to the Marriott for the new brunch, they had acoustic music. It was not very loud at all. 2 weeks ago we were in Shell Beach in the same situation. One guy playing a guitar, very small amplifier. I think it can be done, and I think that's what most everybody on the commission understood at that time. That's what it was going to be, and I think that would be what I would be leaning toward at that time.
Because I think I understand the need for it.
Right. No, and I appreciate that, and I think Friday, Saturday would be fine. I also don't mind having it on a holiday because I think 4th of July you'll have a big crowd. If that happens to be on a Friday, Saturday, it's great. If not, it's going to be on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Who knows? I don't think we want to put that much on a holiday and say you can't have it on a holiday. Usually when I'm going, because Memorial Day's on a Monday, but 4th of July this week is on a Tuesday this year.
Right.
Labor Day could be on a different day, and I think those would be days that you would be expecting to have a good turnout, and that's what. So I would think more of that would be still acoustical, but that one might be a day for an event that's amplified. But then you'd have to be monitoring. I think also your situations that you brought up are practical. I think also what Dan said, the neighbors have to have a number and a person to contact. And also, that's why we have a police force. If it gets out of hand, then they just need to call the police, and then you have to deal with them.
I think the respect level on the decibels, on the loudness of the music, the time also is a concern. I didn't quite understand what you were saying about the times that can you go over that for a second?
Well, I was just trying to make a point that we would be done before 10 and before 9.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think those are practical hours. I mean, there's not... now with the nice weather, you can go out walking at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night and it still be comfortable. So people are out. I don't think you have to limit it, but anything after 10, I think those are practical limitations. So, Brian?
Yeah, how does that sound so far?
I guess my concern still is...
Can you come up?
We have to be able to record you.
Yeah.
I think that's a good beginning, and I think we can work with one another on that. I think the front patio, it sounds like the music will be reasonable enough that I'm not going to be hearing it, which is fine, and you can have it every weekend. You can have it every night, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm not hearing it. But what I hear you saying, so let me just repeat, that every Friday and Saturday night and on holidays, there will be music by the pool in front. It will be within the decibel level, which I
That's what I'm hearing.
understand as 65, 50 feet from the origination of the music.
At the property line.
At the property line, 65 at the property line. And then for that larger venue out and back, that you will have some events that we don't know how many yet, that may be louder and impact us more. I guess that's the area that will have to be
I don't know that they
worked
can
out.
be louder because it's still the same noise
65.
ordinance.
Well, I think the difference is they still have to meet the noise ordinance, but those events will have drums and bass, whereas the ones up front will not. So there's a little difference.
So there's not a decibel level change. It's just
Okay.
that we're allowing the drums and the bass to happen.
Okay, so, yes, that's a good point, because if they happened on that backstage several times a month, and it falls within the decibel level, but
We hear you.
the frequency of the drums, I can still hear it with everything closed in my house, that would still be problematic.
Right.
So I think that's the only area in which we have to come up with some kind of a solution.
Let's banter a little bit more
Yes.
about that.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Both.
First, you can both sit down.
Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to put a lot of rules in place. I
Neither
think
do I.
that the ordinance is the ordinance, and the confounding part is the drum section, the bass. If we can put some limitation on the drums and the bass in that front area, like you were talking about, Joe, and then we can keep the decibel level to what the ordinance says is appropriate.
The law's the law, right.
I figure we stay with that and let's see how it goes. I'm not sure that we need to bring this back in a year.
No.
I think
I do. And the reason why is because that's why you have it to monitor. And if you have situations, then it's brought forward, everybody knows, it's public comment.
I guess you have an opportunity, but we're here now because of, the feedback element already working
Right.
the way it should.
But
So
if it happens in between the year and there's a big nuisance, the public has an opportunity to...
fair enough.
That's why I look at it.
And with I can just 1 second, if I don't mind. My only thought process is about using the other venue and bringing in the drums and all that. I mean, I'm all for music, you know that, I love it. But it's the frequency of that. If we open it up to say that it's all the time, I mean, maybe we put a limitation of they get one event a month. So that 12 times a year or something like that, or 10 times a year, and they can use them in any configuration they want, because that would cover, every month would have a holiday, so to speak, to give them that ability, but it won't turn into every weekend now we're having soft music over here and a big thing happening over here. that might be a little more respectful of the neighborhood relationship?
Right.
Or do you let it self-police itself and see what happens? I'm not sure what the right answer is, but I do kind of, that's why I'm asking how many events, and do you expect more than one a month?
Come on.
So during the summertime, it's been brought to my attention that we're intending to host probably 2 a month during the summer and none during the winter.
Well, see, that's where if we said 12 a year, you've got 12 shots a year, and that would be enough
Plenty.
that, that the neighbors would know what to expect.
Mhm.
So let us think about it, and please. I'm sorry, Art, I'm
No, go
doing your job.
I just wanted to make one
You're
point,
looking for it, aren't you?
that
No, I'm not.
in the new venue, the stage doesn't have anything surrounding it, and I think a sound barrier could be constructed, something like a cone that surrounds the stage, and I think that would be very helpful. That would aim it toward the freeway rather than toward the neighborhood.
It's an
Right
interesting-
now, there is nothing.
That's an
The
interesting
stage is just like
concept.
a raised platform.
Right.
Right.
So even though it's directed towards the freeway right now, it's not really helping with the sound.
Yeah,
from what you
even,
experience.
bass doesn't respect that kind of a direction.
Yeah.
It goes in all directions.
That's
But
true.
it can be funneled, even though the instruments and the amplifiers are pointed in that direction, and particularly the bass does not, it goes in all directions.
That's a good
Right,
point of
that's
that.
true. Dan?
Dan,
Just a couple of points. One of them is very encouraging. We've actually had entertainment every single weekend on Fridays and Saturdays since 2015. So the fact that there's only a handful of times where they heard it is encouraging. It tells me that we can actually manage it, and so we're going to do that for sure. And no drums. I think one time we put drums on that patio. The police were there. That was the last time. Never again. The other thing I want to mention is that the stage venue is not completed yet. So it's actually going to get sides, cortin sides on both sides, and it's going to get a backing, it's going to get a roof. So all the sound will be channeled out towards the freeway. So I think everybody will be quite satisfied with that.
Thanks for clarifying that, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When might that happen?
Yeah, when we It's part of the phase completion, so it's intended to be done as quickly as possible.
Great, okay. Any other comments from the commissioners?
No, that was very encouraging.
That was
what
great.
Dan just
I mean-
said. I think it mitigated some of the previous points.
Right.
Is that awesome? So do we make a motion now, Mark, or what do we do here?
That's what I'm trying to figure out what,
Well, I think we
That's a
have,
great
we know what we have. I
conversation.
think the only stumbling block we have is the coming back in 1 year. I think we've done it before on some other projects instead of, and it just,
and since the event venue is not done, we really don't know what the impact is
Will be.
on
We can revisit.
on that. So, you could just table this for now until they get the event venue taken care of and see how that affects it. Or you could put conditions on the number of times per year, and we can put the patio area conditions in now if you'd like. So, wherever you guys think you want to go
Are
on
you
this.
thinking that by putting the shield around the stage, that it might mitigate the whole situation? We don't need to limit the, is that what you're?
That's what I'm saying. If
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing
that
too.
we may want to defer that until that is taken care of, and then bring it back at another time when it is completed.
Can we at least start with the good neighbor policy?
Yes.
of The no decibels being over, there's no drums, there's no bass on the small venue.
Correct.
Can we start with that at least?
Right, and with monitoring and notification.
Exactly right.
Right.
Exactly
And
right.
then you can just, in your motion, we'll revisit the event stage when it is complete, so we can then see what the impacts are associated with that, and if there's anything else needed.
and then the other question, do you guys want to limit days?
I don't
Friday,
think-
Saturday, or
I think
for the acoustic?
It's not bugging anybody.
I don't think we need to limit it as long as they stay within the law, and then we won't limit the outside one until after we see what happens on the with the sound barrier that they're putting up.
Okay.
But we don't want to have any complaints in the meantime, so
Right.
you guys,
I think that's why if you have that within the year, then we know how many complaints have been
Sure.
brought forward.
Yeah.
That way you can say, okay, well, this didn't work, then we need to readjust.
all right. Shall I try a
Everybody
motion?
good on that?
Let's do it. I like it.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion then, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
I'll with regard to resolution number 17-07. I'd like to make a motion that we impose, is that the word?
Impose the following conditions.
Propose that there will be no drums or bass allowed at the pool area. That amplification is fine as long as it stays within the decibel level. No time, right? No close time? Did we agree on that?
I mean,
No close time, so, I think that's...
You mean days or
fine.
time?
No,
Like-
time, like 9, 10 o'clock at
Clock.
night. We didn't
They
put anything on
they
that?
did propose 9 and 10, so
So let's go ahead, if that's what you want to do, let's go ahead and put that on there. So 9 o'clock during the weekdays, you said, and 10 o'clock on the weekends?
9 o'clock on winter, 10 o'clock
10 o'clock
summer.
summer, sorry, that's right. Let's go and propose that. Yes, sir? I'm in the middle.
I play an acoustic bass. I put it very lightly through the PA system. Is that going to be a problem? When you say no bass, does that mean no bass? It has no more effect in a guitar than the way we play.
well, if it stays under the 65 decibels.
I think that's what I agree with. If
Yeah.
you stay within the decibels, we should be okay.
Right.
Mark?
Well, again, with the bass,
I was-
sometimes it's a little different than just decibels, again, with the noise, so...
How about we say no bass guitar, because I know that the other bass doesn't do typically the same thing that a guitar bass does. A lot of times. Yes, sir?
I play the bass guitar.
Okay.
I can through the PA system, but it's needed with how you play with a little 3-piece acoustic thing. And they're not offensive with their volumes. This bass doesn't carry.
He really
as far
shouldn't
as
be, 'cause
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, we've been doing that, I mean, all the time, and it's not affecting anybody. I think the real key here is communication. If there's an issue and somebody hears it, we can mitigate it right away. But
Okay.
to limit it when 900 times it hasn't mattered and maybe 3 times it has,
Okay. Well, we've closed public hearing, so we're going to go ahead and go this direction at this time, and we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Joe, finish up.
thanks, Mark.
No, can't talk.
All right, where was I? So
We went to 9 o'clock.
Are we going
Time, we
to,
went
so
to
9
time
o'clock
limit.
in the wintertime and 10 o'clock in the summertime?
Yeah.
And
And,
then a notice on any large venue.
and notice on any large venue usage.
Right.
That's great.
Do we need to add that they have to have the manager's number and all that?
I don't think
That-
Yeah, just put, you can put it in so we have that documented, and then the year review.
Yes.
Contact information.
Right.
Yes.
We'll put a contact
A
number as
contact
available
number.
there.
Come on, don't you want to get called at 11:05?
All right, did I cover everything?
I think you got it.
Anything you want to add? Now's the time.
No.
Okay,
Second.
we need a second.
Yep, I'll second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Padilla?
Aye.
Vice Chair Dunstan?
Aye.
Chair Mercado?
Aye. Thank you all for coming and speaking in both venues. So we'll take a 2-minute break here so we can let everybody leave, and if they want to stay for the next one, you're more than welcome to.
Retrieve Dan.
You know, I hear what he says about that.
I was going to ask that, Mike.
No drums.
Idiosyncrasies of what is and what's not.
Exactly. The bottom line is they can still play it. I just want the
Yeah.
music to go. Thank you.
We have one more project, a preliminary. Oh, okay, yeah.
our meeting. So, great. Can you guys take it outside? I hate to, we're going to reopen our meeting now, so. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Not a problem.
Thank you all.
We're being neighbors.
That's
There you
good.
go.
I love it.
Talk.
Good.
Yeah, I think we're good for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, Dan.
Sorry I had a lot of questions, Dan. I'm sorry.
It's just getting cold and wet out there.
Oh, man.
Is it raining on you?
That was.
I was taking advantage of not being the one who had to recuse themselves.
So we'll go to the preliminary review of the Central Homes Project, 17-FDP-02. And Andrea?
Thank you, Chair Mercado. This is the preliminary review for the Central Homes project. So this project replaces the Central Townhomes project, which you have seen before, which was the 11 townhomes project. So this is the same project site, just a different, a new project. And actually, so it's on the corner of Central and First Street, just to jog your memory. So it's for a final development plan and tentative tract map for an 8-unit single-family home project located on the corner of First and Central. The property is zoned multifamily residential at 16 dwelling units max per acre allowed. The site is 0.68 acres, so 8 units on the site meets the density requirement. Each single-family home is proposed to be 2 stories, 29 feet in height, and contain 3 bedrooms and 2.5 bathrooms. So each single-family home has 2 ground floor covered patios and 1 upper floor covered balcony. And there's a central open space area provided in the center of the project site. Access to each individual home will be via 6 private driveways, so 4 units will have shared access via access easements. So there's 2 driveways that service 2 homes, basically, one off of the alleyway and one off of Central. The tentative tract map is to create 8 individual for-sale lots and 1 common lot for a total of 9 lots. So this is the site plan overview. There is a lot of detail missing from this site plan, so that will be detailed. The detail that is missing will be detailed in the incomplete letter to the applicant, but this gives you some kind of an idea of the general layout of where the homes will be located on the property. So you have the alleyway up here. This is First Street over here and Central down here. And you can see the driveways with shared access along the alley as well as along Central. And then the other units have private driveways, some off of First and some off of 2 off of First, 2 off of Central, and then 1 off of the alleyway. So it's hard to tell with this, but it appears that all of the required setbacks are met with the exception of these several little portions of the covered patio areas. So it encroaches, I believe, 2 feet here into the required 20-foot setback, and approximately 3 feet here along Central. So then it doesn't really show the detail here, but this would be where the central open space area would be, which would be the common lot in the center here. I guess I'll keep going. So just to look at the landscape plan, a lot of details also missing from the landscape plan. It's not really clear what's going to be all the green area. Is that going to be grass? Is just needing more detail about what types of planting is going to be there. Of course, as part of for it to be considered complete, they would need irrigation plans as well. But the plants that they are proposing at this time are on our approved tree planting list, and as well as the shrubs. It is drought tolerant. So what they are proposing at this time is on our approved tree planting list. I think the main comment would just be more complete landscape plans with more detail on what is actually being proposed throughout the site. They do have a little bit of lighting detail here and the proposed location of the lighting, but as you'll see, I'll go back one slide, but they are proposing privacy fencing around each individual home, and that's not reflected on the landscape plan, and we don't really have any detail at this time of what type of fencing we have. They did indicate it would be 5-foot fencing, but not details of what it would actually look like and how that would relate to the site. So you can see kind of here where they propose fencing, and that those are, I believe, the doors, the gates areas. But again, with the site plan, we do want and will require a lot of clarification and more detail to be provided on the site plan. So that'll be what we'll include in the incomplete letter from them, or to them. So these are the elevation plans. We will require that they submit color elevations and also elevations of all sides of all buildings. What was submitted is only showing one side and the front, so we want sort of a 360 elevation of all sides of all buildings and in color to kind of get an actual representation of what the building as a whole will look like. They did provide today, they dropped off at least some sort of color elevation down there, so you can get some kind of an idea, as well as a rendering of the site of what it may look like. But there was no architectural style listed or proposed, so the architectural design consultant did review it as under the agrarian standard in our community design guidelines. And I can go into some detail about those comments a little later on. So initial comments: the project will require final approval from the City Council because the tentative track map is proposed. CCNRs and property maintenance for the site will be required because there is that common shared area. Any residential project is required under the inclusionary zoning ordinance to provide 15% of the units as affordable units. In this case, that would be 1.2 units, so staff in this case would support the payment of an in lieu fee rather than providing the actual affordable units themselves, just because of sort of monitoring and administering one unit would be a challenge. So, the money collected from the in lieu fee may be better spent on a larger project in the future. So that's why staff would support the in lieu fee. 16 parking spaces are provided, two covered spaces in the garage for each single family unit. Again, color elevation shall be submitted, and elevations of all sides shall be submitted. So again, the patios some patios along First and Central appear to encroach slightly into the front and street side setbacks, so that's something to consider in the future, if we would allow that minor encroachment of those covered patios into that setback. Again, the site plan does not show all required details from the checklist, and so we will be asking the applicant to submit a new site plan with all the required details and elements that we would need to properly evaluate the plans. The site plan and tentative map shall show all public improvements on them, so that's one of the items that is missing from them that will be put into the incomplete letter. Also, an 8-foot high wall must be provided at the north property line. There is, and I think as you might recall from the last meeting, there is a wall there currently, but it's not clear who that wall belongs to, whether or not it would even fit contextually with this project design, or whether it's 8 feet or meets that requirement for this. So we will be asking the applicant to clarify, ownership of that, and making sure that if they do need to put a fence in, that it would blend in with the development and our community design guidelines. So again, I've said this before, but provide more detail on the landscape plans. Photometric lighting plan is required because the surrounding residential neighborhood. Just some other comments. There are inconsistencies throughout the project plans. For instance, some sheets label the square footage for site coverage. They label a certain square footage, and then what the project description lists is different. So it's not clear if that maximum site coverage requirement is met, because one number that I've seen on the plans is 29.6% site coverage and the other is like 30.7. So just asking for clarification on that to make sure that they do meet that site coverage requirement and making everything in the plans consistent amongst everything. So the plans are off scale, or they have the incorrect scale, so I've asked I will be asking the applicant in the incomplete letter to provide the correct scale so that we can therefore make sure that all setbacks are met and things make sense on the plans and are consistent throughout. Again, the lot plan and tentative map show differences in lot sizes. So one of the lot plan doesn't actually show the 9th lot, or the lot plan does show the 9th lot, but the tentative map doesn't actually clearly label that 9th lot. So just making the plans consistent throughout, so we know what exactly they're proposing, and it's consistent throughout the project plans. Going on to the design review comments, the plans again were reviewed as under the agrarian community design guidelines standards, even though there was no particular design style proposed. So that's another comment that would go into the incomplete letter, just making sure it's clear what design style they're going for and how that fits in contextually to the surrounding neighborhood and the project site itself. So again, providing a complete planting and irrigation plan, and describing the complementary planning, which is sort of what I was getting at earlier. And the plans do not appear complete at this time. So again, another comment that will be going into that letter. Building massing and form should include articulation to give scale and richness. More detail, wall form should be articulated with changes in massing colors and materials. So just needing a little bit more work to create more articulation and interest at the street, and again, not appearing box-like. So that was another comment, was just that it still does appear a little bit box-like. So working with our community design guidelines and re-examining them to make sure that what they're proposing does meet our design guidelines and is aesthetically pleasing. Again, projections, recesses, and overhangs should be employed to provide shadow and depth. So that's just going into more detail about what they can do to sort of work with those community design guidelines. Okay, again, the current layout still reads as box, and just the suggestion to try to avoid tacking on architectural features to hide poor massing in architecture. Providing, again, this is from the design consultant, so providing a complete site plan showing existing parcel lines and identifying each parcel's APN. So again, that's another detail that will go in the incomplete letter regarding the site plan, that just needing more detail, and that's one of those items. Again, re-reviewing the Buellton design guidelines for compliance. And the sidewalk in the central open space area, according to our design review consultant, doesn't really encourage users to use the space. There's not really any place to sit or shade trees or anything like that. It's just a pathway, basically. And so the suggestion to incorporate more of those elements, trellises, shade structures, fountains, seating, if possible, those kinds of things. And another question almost that he had was the way it's configured now with the center open space area in the center. Would that create unwanted access into the center of private homes, basically, because they will have the privacy fencing around or that's what they're proposing, but then the center area will, it doesn't appear that it would be fenced off from the street or in any way. So I think that's what he was getting at there. Public Works had a couple comments, more than this. I just included some of the main ones. That the proposed utilities need to be shown on the plans or on separate plans to clarify their locations, and the tentative map needs to conform to city map standards, and just providing all the required information that is needed on the tentative map. This project is being reviewed under Class 32 categorical exemption for infill development under CEQA, but the final determination will be made as part of deeming the application complete with a recommendation to the Planning Commission. So the recommendation at this point is that the Planning Commission provide direction to the applicant and staff on the proposed project plans. I'm available for questions.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, this is the third time we've seen this, and it doesn't seem like they've done much. I mean, some of these things are left over from the last time. I'm wondering why we're reviewing this when there's such a level of incompleteness.
Right.
I mean, we don't have color elevations, we don't have, 360 views.
Well, that's the point of the application process. He's now paid his fees, so we're obligated to review the project.
Even at this incomplete stage.
Right, that's because that's where we're at. Every project is at this stage. So this is the process, pays the fees, submits his package. If it is not complete, we have another long letter of things that are
It's going to be a long letter.
Yes.
Okay, just wondering.
Right?
No, I mean, there's a number of things that we talked about last time, the design and all the various things that have come back up through the design evaluation by the various contractors and other elements that come into this. So I think they just recharacterized some of the same concerns and points that we had. Yeah, I think, there's still some work to be done, but and some concerns there, but I think there's a lot of promise.
Joe? Okay. I agree with everything that they said. I do like at least we have colored boards this time, so at least we have something. He's going in the right direction, and that's the process that we are trying to facilitate. So at this time, if the applicant wants to come up and go ahead.
Now, we're not requiring the common space, are we, the city?
No.
That's just a proposal by the applicant?
No.
I don't, for this project, we don't require it, so it's just an added element that could be added.
Sure.
And since he's showing it, that's where our design consultant added the idea of having some amenities. No, please.
This is Central Avenue here.
Can you use the microphone?
You need the microphone, Michael.
This is Central Avenue, and then First Street is alley. So, the main concern, the common space area, we utilize the LID design. Second one, entrance to this building is face up to the alley. So we don't want it to anybody walk through the alley. That's the main purpose. So that's what we provide here, center, to easy access to this building.
Okay, so that gives them front door access because
this
the main doors face
and then face
west.
approach, yes, so they can enter this way, both way. Otherwise, the alley, so it's a little bit dangerous. Something.
Okay.
So we concern.
That's good.
By the way, this is not actual. It's reverse. As you can see, there's garage there. It's entrance door here, and now it's entrance door here. Just reference only.
Okay. That makes sense. Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Or Brian?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I see that there's fencing put around the actual
Site plan,
domiciles,
Andrea?
which is the difference. So that was part of what we brought forward before.
The other one.
That common area, I think there's a lot of opportunity in there to make it more friendly for some people to want to go there. It seems like, I don't know if the intention was to literally just have access to those front doors, or did you want it to be more of a communal place? I think last time we saw you, we talked about barbecue pit area, we talked about a seating area, a shaded area, and maybe we're not seeing it. Maybe there is some.
That's what I remember.
Yeah, can you speak? You can use the.
You can grab it.
You can take that.
You can take it with you.
All right. Actually, currently, this is our landscaping architect design now. Well, I remember that this area concern is barbecue area. Already figured out, but unfortunately, this drawing is not shown. But there are two barbecue and common area here. This area and the entrance to east.
And that mirrors, I think, some of the things that Andrea brought forward in regards to just
Last
more
time we
detail.
mentioned, yeah,
I just want to see more. I think if we get a better visual of what your concept is, it'll help us kind of understand where you're going to go. I think we're just having
Obviously, no music, no bass down.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, I guess this is part of the incomplete letter to find out the fence on the north side.
Correct.
So-
Just to clarify that,
Right.
and then if they, need to provide a fence, providing that detail and making sure that it
Right.
blends in.
'Cause we said we wanted the fence.
Right, so there's-
because there's.
So currently there is a wall of some kind there, but it's not really clear who owns it, and it's not part of this project. So more than likely, a new fence will be, or a new wall will be
We'll have to put
required
up-
over there. So
I do have a question for the planner. Are the lots predetermined based on what was done for the parcel sizes, or is this something that is being made as part of this project?
the individual, the 9 individual lots, basically. So they're proposing it as part of this project. So it's currently, so it's not shown on the site plan, but currently it's 4 lots, and they're taking those 4 lots and reconfiguring the lots to create these lots for each of these individual homes.
So I think we can take some, as a watch out, something from the first thing that came to us, this first resolution, which was they had an entrance area that went into the lot line. And it just seems there's a lot of density going on with this. You got a lot of building structures and a lot of things going on just inside of where those lot lines are happening.
That's right.
So just a watch out based on that is to be mindful of what that looks like as you think about this. Because it looks like, I mean, just the visual, and I'm spending a lot of time kind of looking at that, I can see a lot of two-story structures were kind of close to each other. So you're trying to have a lot of things going on in a space that you may not be able to do that much. But, you know, you've got a vision of what you want to do, and I don't want to impede that. Just be mindful of that as a watch out.
Okay. Anything else? All right. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hard to evaluate something when
We don't have any written communications. Planning Commission comments? Planning Director?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The hub and the network were just resubmitted this week, so we're processing and making sure they comply with our incomplete letter, and we'll start the environmental and get those to the Planning Commission at sometime this summer. The old gas station site at 518 Avenue of Flags, we're in close talks with the new property owner about a mixed-use project on that location, who may go before the avenue-specific plan, but will try to incorporate ideas from the avenue-specific plan, such as a courtyard, etc., in there. So they're working with us. They want to move forward before the plan's done, but they want to try to make it as a centerpiece for the avenue of Flags. So we're looking forward to that. And we'll open up PC applications in the next couple of weeks for Morgan's slot on the Planning Commission.
I get to go back in the corner.
You get to go back in the corner. That's your corner, Joe. Don't worry. Don't worry. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
I have just a quick.
Go ahead.
So I assume over at the crossroads that the parking spaces that have a C are compact?
That is correct.
Okay.
That's standardized.
How come it's not spelled out like it is on other ones? Albertsons, it's spelled out? I mean, it took me a
We
little
have
while.
no code requirement that it be spelled out, because some jurisdictions use the C, sometimes spell out the compact.
And M is motorcycle?
M is motorcycle.
All right.
And we're getting the plans in for the restriping of the drive-through at Habit. Everybody's agreed to it, so we're just getting the plans in so that can be done.
What's going on with the blinking lights over there on 246 as you head towards the west side of town going out? They don't seem to be working anymore.
I do not know. I will check with Public Works
People call me
Director.
this week and ask about that.
That could be because of the Caltrans work going on, that they could have disabled it for some reason, but we'll check on
I
that.
appreciate things.
And I just have one other thing I wanted to ask Mark. And this just came up a few times since the school year is basically ended with the kids. I've noticed some kids are trying to cross the highway, the 246 near where we live, Riverview, across over to Oak Valley and Oak Park area. And that intersection where the walkway is, it's just not, in my opinion, it's just not safe. It's where Sycamore.
We're getting the new intersection improvements there as far as crossing.
So what does that mean?
I'm not sure exactly. It might be the signage and new striping, but I know we got some funds from Caltrans.
At this point there.
Yeah. And
Yes.
it's just.
No,
cars
we're
are
working with
crossing.
Caltrans and the school districts on getting a new crossing area in there that's delineated.
Okay. All right.
A little scary to watch them cross.
Yeah, I just have seen too many with their bikes and they're trying to navigate these cars that are speeding up.
We make them
at a
go
high
down to
rate.
the light at the end on Industrial.
Oh, who does that?
Across.
Yeah, that's the problem. Right?
Yeah,
They're
I
not
know.
going to do it.
Exactly.
No one's going to do it.
All righty. Anything else?
Nope.